calling it. The host of that parade was ESPN's Hannah Storm.
Yeah, have you heard about what happened to Hannah Storm? It was her first day back at work after she was severely burned in a propane gas grill accident in her backyard 3 weeks ago. She had severe burns to her chest and hands, face and neck.
This is so scary.
This has almost happened to me twice with a propane stove. If you try to ignite it with the top down, this could be very bad because the gas gathers up inside of it, and then when it does ignite, it just blows up.
Rick.
That happened to me, but I didn't get burned.
Thank God.
And the second time with one of those propane overhead heaters, I couldn't get it going, kept hitting the starter button, and bam, a big explosion. Nobody was hurt, but these can be very dangerous.
Yeah, so we want to show you.
She was burned excessively. I mean, it was terrible.
And, you know, you got to think that's so scary. She's an on-air talent. She was probably so terrified for what that was going to mean for her future. But apparently she's doing a lot better since she's hosting again. So we want to show you some video from YouTube, because it turns out this happens so often. I mean, just twice to Rick, a similar experience. So take a look at some of this YouTube video. They call them flash fires. So this video has close to 8,000 hits, and you can see why. I mean, this guy's just fiddling with the knob. This is something anybody would do with their grill, right? Right. And then you see that burst of flames. Is this kind of like what you saw, Rick?
Yes, it is. Now, see, he apparently is doing it right. He's turned on the gas and hitting the ignition button. If you turn that on with the cover of your grill closed, the gas gathers up in there and it becomes a bomb. For some reason, the gas was coming out of there before he ignited
that is
it.
So scary. Yeah. If he would have been leaning a little bit closer, I mean, just imagine.
He would have been burned for sure. Kristy Seifkin now live with firefighters in Mesa with more on this. Kristy?
Good morning to you guys. Yeah, certainly no joking matter, and a lot of people could easily make these mistakes when they're operating their own grills at home. And so Forrest Smith with us today from Mesa Fire. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, of course, Kristy, thanks.
And you've got a grill with us to kind of give us some tips. And I guess the first question people may be asking is, how might something that happened to Hannah happen to one of us? You know, it looks like that your flame is out. You go to check it again. What might actually have been going on, and what can we do to prevent it?
Well, a lot of times what we end up doing is we come out to our grill, we get it started, we turn the propane tank on, you have the gas flowing, you hear it, you hit the ignition switch, and you think you may have the flame. But the problem is most time we have the lid shut down. So what happens is that when you have the lid shut down, you start turning the ignition switch on, you may start to build up the gas without the flame. What may have happened in that situation is that once it's opened up and you hit the ignition switch again, you may get a successful ignition, which at the same time you have that gas coming out, which is between that lean and really rich fuel space where it actually ignites, which can cause a fire.
So it's built up, and then the flames are what happens as a result. The next question, of course, what can we do to prevent that? There's some easy steps, some things that we called almost a duh, but you might not know to check. One of them is this button right here. Talk to me about that.
Right, that's the ignition switch. What we're finding with these newer model grills is that they're battery operated. So what happens is that so a lot of times if you're hitting that switch and noticing that you're not getting the ignition to flame, rather than using a match and tossing it in there, consider looking under and making sure that you have a good battery.
So the battery may be dead. That may be the issue opposed to the grill not working.
Exactly. A couple points. The fact is that we have a grill. Obviously, you don't want to use it in an inside space here. We're using it just for demonstration purposes, and you never want to use it underneath the eaves or underneath the patio, because a lot of fires we've had have been a result of a fire taking off from here and getting exposed to these underhangs or on these patios.
Perfect. And Forrest, we have time for one more tip to include here: the spray bottle. I think this is a cool tip. That has soapy water. What do you do with that to help yourself?
General maintenance should be done. Well, technically, we should have this cleaned off here, so you always want to make sure you have a clean grill. That oil can build up on here, the greases will build up, cause a fire. We've got the spray bottle here with soap. What you want to use is regular soapy water, and as you open up your propane tank, just do checks. You spray it on, and you see if you have any bubbling. Any of that bubbling will let you know that you have a leak. So it comes down to basic housekeeping and maintenance of your grill. And obviously with the propane or anything like that, you always want to make sure that if you smell anything unusual and you have it shut down, call the fire department. Better safe than sorry.
Excellent. Forrest, thank you so much for all of those wonderful tips, you guys. And these are obviously things you can employ at your own grill at home to make sure that you don't have any accidents like the one that Hannah did. Back to you guys.
All right. That's very good advice. Soapy water, yeah, we'll always show anything that's leaking out of like a rubber hose or anything. And you know, you don't want those, especially those, not only the grills that you cook food on, but the heating grills. You don't want those propane heaters under a wooden deck.
You know what? I've seen them at restaurants under patios.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds like a violation.
You know what we have for a patio heater? We have an electric patio heater.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know they made those.
Oh yeah, I bought it at Kmart a couple years ago.
Well, you know, I'm just going to stick to my George Foreman.
After my propane thing exploded, I said, no, from now on, I'm going to go with electric.